I want to pick up with what happened with Hunter Biden's laptop. Well, I guess you could call him Hunter laptop. What's happened with Hunter Biden and his laptop. Now, remember, this came out before the election. Remember this? Watch.
Biden's secret emails.
A really fishy story.
The Post claimed that the emails were found on a laptop computer that was brought to a repair shop in Delaware in the spring of 2019.
The FBI is now investigating whether those alleged Hunter Biden emails are actually connected to a larger foreign intelligence operation.
They may be related to a foreign intelligence operation.
Foreign intelligence operation.
Foreign intelligence.
Foreign intelligence.
Foreign intelligence operation.
For all we know, these emails are made up.
The information found on the laptop may be part of a Russian disinformation campaign.
Part of a Russian disinformation effort.
Described by many intelligence experts as having hallmarks.
All the hallmarks, rather.
All the hallmarks of a Russian
disinformation.
Russian disinformation
campaign.
This is a classic example of the right-wing media machine.
Russian disinformation campaign, John Graves. You know, and it kind of went underground. We didn't hear much about it. Why is this something we should still be concerned about?
You know, here's the truth. Here's the painful truth. You can say the election was stolen. You can say the election was bought. You can say there was election interference. 14% of the people, you and I actually talked about this, Gene, on Flashpoint, right after the 2020 election, 14% of Democrats said, if I would have known that the Hunter Biden laptop was real, if somebody would have told me that, I wouldn't have voted for Biden. It would have been a landslide for Trump. That one bit of critical information, Russian spies, Ukraine, paying him $3.5 million, China, all of that happened, and the talking points that went out instantaneously over the marketing arm of the Democrat Party, the mainstream media, the big tech, you just saw it. Beautiful clip. Russian disinformation, this is the right-wing hack. And this is the painful part too, in the debate, if you remember, Trump brings this up, and Biden, if you watch those three debates, Biden says 51 intelligence officers. He knew it was FBI. He knew it was his son. He was getting paid for it, and he lied to the American people in the debate. And now the world yawns and moves on. Do you know who brought this forward? Why it's now coming out 17 months later? It's not from the right. The New York Times, the radical leftist New York Times, finally said, you know what? We can't change the election now. We're pretty safe. We're in the clear. Let's go ahead and admit that this was messed up. This was wrong. And they attacked the New York Post, who broke the story in the first place. That's who they were attacking. And so that's why this is now exploding. But now what do you do about it? And your question, Gene, I'm sorry I'm going a little long here.
No, you're fine.
But your question is, what do we do about it? We stay involved. We contact our state reps and demand that they change the laws on these kind of things, demand that there's an investigation at the federal level on this kind of stuff, and demand somebody do something about it to rectify. Demand that the three-letter agencies, the law enforcement agencies, CIA, FBI, need to go after this, the IRS, all of them. And who knows where this goes, but we can't quit just because the battle's difficult.
No, I agree. Let me show you this about Biden's laptop and it resurfacing. Watch.
Leading up to the 2020 presidential election, the Biden campaign hit a roadblock. A New York Post report about a laptop that landed at a Delaware repair shop apparently belonging to the president's son, Hunter. On that laptop, a trove of emails detailing Hunter's apparent business dealings, including an effort to connect his father, then Vice President Biden, to a Ukrainian energy company where Hunter sat on the board. But the effort to suppress the story came almost immediately. Social media outlets began limiting sharing of the story on their platforms, Facebook calling the move an effort to, quote, reduce the spread of misinformation. Then President-elect Biden also waded into the waters.
Do you still think that the stories from the fall about your son Hunter were Russian disinformation?
Yes.
But a New York Times report this week confirming the authenticity of the laptop. Now, over a year removed from the first report by the New York Post, the effort to kill the original story is under the spotlight.
All right. Let's see what Jen Psaki has to say about Hunter's laptop.
The New York Times has authenticated emails that appear to have come from a laptop abandoned by Hunter Biden in Delaware. The president previously said that the New York Post story about this was a bunch of garbage and that it was a Russian plant. Does he stand by that assessment?
I pointed the Department of Justice and also to Hunter Biden's representatives. He doesn't work in the government.
And if I may, you asked about Hunter Biden's laptop. You also, in October 2020, dismissed it as Russian disinformation. Do you stand by that assessment?
Again, I pointed to the Department of Justice and Hunter Biden's representatives. I'm a spokesperson for the United States. He doesn't work for the United States.
You know, Mario, and when you see stuff like this, it's Jen Psaki has a hard job. She does have a difficult job, and I heard today she's out with COVID. But listen, you know, you just can't pick and choose. It is something she needs to comment on because it's the president's son. It affects our nation. There is a reason why this is a classic, dodge and weave, to get out of answering the question. But we've got to have truth in this, Mario. We've got to get to the bottom of it.
Okay, here's what needs to happen. We're in the moment where Israel stood silent in front of a 9.5-foot man who was insulting and cursing them every day. And the giant Goliath stood there and no one responded. Ever since the Democrat Party has been in power, they have silenced, muted, lied, cheated, and used social media and every one of their tentacles to control the narrative. Now, what we need is a miracle, a national miracle, a spirit like David had. Somebody watching right now is going to rise up in the name of Jesus and confront this giant. How is it going to be brought down? Yes, Mike Lindell's going to have a part in it. Yes, Dinesh D'Souza's special will have a part in it. But the real victory is going to come from God's people anointed, God's people filled with power. I believe it'll be a conglomeration of supernatural ability to speak and expose, according to 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 5. Casting down lies and every imagination and thought that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. Signs and wonders, prophetic preaching. We can't wait for the sleepy church to come alongside of us. We can't wait for someone else. David realized when he looked at the landscape, nobody's doing anything. Nobody's standing up. Well, folks, God's telling us to stand up. And you know what the Jonathan said to his armor bearer? Let us go over and take care of these enemies. For there is nothing restraining God, whether to save by few or to save by many. Now, we can get angry, we can lament, but one thing I know, a miracle. God is going to raise up an elite core of God's people to bring this country and expose these lies. The devil brought the lie, God's going to expose the lie.
He is going to expose the lie. And you know what we're seeing? I agree, Mario. What we're seeing is people beginning to stand up. People have been standing up you didn't know about, like John Cooper. John Cooper's the lead vocalist, bassist, and songwriter, producer for Skillet. If you don't know who that is, ask one of your kids. Best-selling rock bands of the 21st century, two-time Grammy Award